Paula Bennett.
Mr Speaker, might I say just how honoured I am that you are in the chair for my debate contribution to this fantastic budget. And I see that the gallery's full. It's great, and we've got ex-MPs here in the House that have just all come along to hear. I hope they stay for Shane Jones. I hope they actually stay and stick around, because I think there's another show on the road shortly. So that's lovely. I feel, Shane Jones, I feel like I'm the entree before the main, the soup before the steak and chips. You know, the little entree that sort of warms the crowd up for you, Shane Jones. And I hope that you are getting ready for your valedictory. Can I just say, because I do have the opportunity to speak just before you, that actually you will genuinely be missed, and it is a sad day for some of us who have enjoyed you. But I get to talk about the budget, and I'm delighted that there might be a few more people that are listening in than normally would, that get to hear about the fantastic work that we are doing for families and for children in this budget. The list is long. I get to go for a good few minutes here to talk about just how great it is and the extent of where we've gone. But the one thing I think that hasn't been picked up as much as it could is more than $1 billion in savings, if you like, have been made thanks to a lower welfare spend than what was projected in 2010. So shall we run that through again? More than $1 billion is lower, the forecast is lower than what it was in 2010, and that, Mr Speaker, is due to certainly an economy that is picking up, but equally to our welfare reforms. More than $100 million has gone into the welfare reforms in this budget. That will be $25 million a year over the next 4 years, and as you can already see, the kind of returns that we get from that. In the last 12 months alone, since we introduced the reforms, the savings and benefits spend have been about $530 million. So absolutely significant. That support and spending on people earlier is what makes the biggest difference. But Mr Speaker, I am proud of this budget. I am absolutely proud of the work that Bill English has done, and I can tell you there is many a night where we have debated very long into the night on what this budget would look like, how we would respond to some of the needs for families and children. Mr Speaker, the reality is that I loved that we were debating the stuff that matters, the stuff that really counts. And the reality is that with data analytics like we have now, we not only hold more information on the most vulnerable children and young people in this country than we ever have before, but because of data analytics, we have access to it. So that means we can target our funding to the children and families that need it most. And unlike Labor, who would like to scatter the money across every child, and the Greens that would like to throw a bit to everyone, even those that don't need it, and hope that it might actually hit those that are most vulnerable in this country, we have gotten smarter, better and far more sophisticated in how we target the most vulnerable New Zealanders and get support to them earlier. And for me, the significant money of $33 million in this budget is to do exactly that. One of the best examples I can give of data analytics and the difference that it makes is the changes that we have made for teen parents. So we now have a reduction in the number of teen parents by 39% over the last 4 years. So the number of teen parents, and to give you that in actual numbers, in 2008 there were 5,200 births to teen mums. Last year there were 3,300. We have 2,300 young mums that are on benefit at any one time. What we can do is we know their names, we know where they live, we can wrap support around them early. What we recognised was government was not the right place to do that, and in fact every bit of evidence through the investment approach told us that keeping them away from government as long as we can will make the biggest difference. So every single one of those young teen mums has a support person, adult, who is wrapped around them. They now start by having their money managed for them. Their rent is paid or board is paid up front, their power bill is paid, they get some money on a card and some pocket money, but they can work their way to independence. And can I say what an absolute difference that is making in their lives. But if we weren't targeting, if we weren't using data analytics like we do, we would continue to scatter and spray money around, hoping that it will hit the very children and young people that need it most. And the reality is that this budget looks at us targeting even more to who needs it more. What you will see as you look into the details of the budget is you will see the money that is going into that vulnerable children's package. It lets us have another 8 children's teams, and this is important. So we have the predictive risk model, which is actually controversial in itself. So whether you like it or not, we know a lot. We know if a child's parents have been in jail, if they've been in a state house for all of their all of their lives. We know their benefit use. We know whether or not there's been domestic violence incidences and the police visited the week before. We know the vulnerability level. We know the risk factor. We know where to put support and how to get it in earlier. And the difference that that can make to the harder end and more complex of what we do is significant. Children's teams will have that kind of information. They can then wrap one plan around a child with one lead professional who can then actually be following through, and there's accountability the whole way through, Mr. Speaker, which makes the biggest difference. Mr. Speaker, I say that we've got the sort of Labour, we will forget what actually happened. The reality is for these kids is if we kept spending and it was just about more money for every child, then we actually would have seen a greater reduction in the number of abuse and the number of abuse for children in the 2000s when they were throwing money at it and scattering it around. We didn't. What we have seen for more than 10 years is a steady increase in the number of notifications and the number of substantiated cases of abuse or neglect. Unless we target, unless we're getting in earlier, wrapping support around and knowing exactly what is happening with it, we will continue to get the same sort of results. And this budget steps up for those very vulnerable young children who need us, and I myself am very, very proud of it. Mr. Speaker, it also does more for child, youth and family for therapeutic one-on-one support. It ensures that actually we are, for those very high and complex needs children, able to put far more money into them. There are a few children that literally cost us millions. There are some incredibly sad cases of young people who need 24/7 one-on-one and even in extreme cases 2-on-1 support to make sure that they are actually safe themselves and that society is safe. So there are examples where we have young people who literally have a guard with them and a therapeutic placement with them the whole time, and they're expensive. So we needed to step up and make sure that we continue that and that we're actually backing the young people that needed it. But, Mr. Speaker, what we hear a lot is that actually unemployment's gone up since National came in. And I just was hearing today that, there's more Pacific people that are unemployed than there were back when Labour was in. What they forget, of course, is that for 3 consecutive quarters before National came into government in 2008, numbers had been going up under Labour and they had done nothing. What they choose to forget, of course, is that we had a global financial crisis which saw this government step up and help and support those that needed it most at that very time. So, yep, welfare numbers went up. And actually, in some respects, I'm proud of it. That means we support those who need it most. This is an outstanding budget by a Minister of Finance who's doing an outstanding job, and I'm incredibly proud to stand up today and support it.
Order. Chris Hipkins.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and can I thank all my parliamentary colleagues for coming along to listen to this contribution in the budget debate this afternoon. Mr. Speaker, I feel a little bit like the parliamentary rugby team playing a curtain raiser before